We're going to speak about creation, the origin of man. We look at the order in which creation took place. The creation order, day one day. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. This word Elohim is very interesting because Elohim, when you break it down to its finest component, at the bottom you find a little word by the name of U, which means to twine as one does a rope. And as you know, you take many strands of sisal and twine them together by twining them in one direction very tightly, then putting 3 strands next to each other, and then they will spin across in the opposite direction, actually unburdening the twining. And that twining causes the twining of the 3 pieces of rope. And this twining is known to be incredibly powerful. Therefore, Elohim, at his very base, carries the meaning of twining. So why should he want to twine? It means that the reason for creation is that he wanted to twine. He wanted to twine with his bride, with man. The earth was unformed and void. Darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Ruach of Elohim hovered over the surface of the water. Then Elohim said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Elohim saw that the light was good, and Elohim divided the light from darkness. Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So there was evening and there was morning, one day. Creation was unformed and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. There were no lighting bodies. Creation was a void. Creation was dead. And there were waters. So the waters covered everything. So it's obvious that life, in the way that it was to come about, would not be sustained in its full extent, the way that creation came into being. Light, however, was not created. Elohim said, "Let it be." Yeshua was the creator in terms of John 1. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. And nothing came into being that did not come into being through him. And he also is declared light in the same portion in John 1. So we now have the 2 opposing forces here, spiritual light versus spiritual darkness. That means that the adversary is evil, that is darkness, that is thrown out into the physical dimension. And Yeshua as light neutralizes the darkness. It has to be separated from darkness for darkness to continue to exist, because wherever light comes, darkness is destroyed. So Elohim separates between light and darkness, and he calls the darkness night, and he calls the light day. So there was evening and there was morning, one day. Now this one day is separate from what is mentioned in the rest of the book of Genesis chapter 1. The first day is literally one day in Hebrew. The rest of the days are the second, the third, the fourth, and so on. So this distinguishes the first day or the day from the rest. One day actually is an eternal day. It is an eternity. There's no time, no space. The eternity clearly is where Yudevave lives. It is the most holy because he lives within the most holy, where he appears in the heavenly realms as the Shekhinah on the Ark of the Covenant's lid. And the entire most holy is surrounded by a pattern. And this pattern is the pattern that is on the parquet, on the drape. It is blue, purple, red, and white. Air, water, fire, and earth. Those are the basic makeup of the earth. And the colors of the parquet or the drape surround the most holy, because the paraket was to be made out of one piece. And tradition has it that the high priest passed through the overlap between the two ends of the drape. This means that the paraket surrounded the most holy completely. And this surrounded space actually is eternity. It is one day. It is separate, and this, in a certain manner of speaking, is the dome as well. It is the place of preparation. It is the tafnito pattern. It is where the planning and conception exists, and it does not have time or space. And then creation becomes the space, but there is no time. Therefore, one day. The order on the second day, Elohim said that let there be a dome in the middle of the water, let it divide the water from the water. Elohim made the dome and divided the water under the dome from the water above the dome. That is how it was. And Elohim called the dome sky. So there was evening and there was morning, a second day. Let us now examine what this division of the water that divided the water under the dome from the water above the dome. So we actually have a spiritual or an eternal that is separated from the physical creation. There is a spiritual dimension that rules creation and actually determines creation. It then determines the physical dimension. And day one rules over the other days, second day, third day, and so on. The spiritual realm rules over everything from the start, and these are separated in this dome. The water above the dome would be Ruach, because the water is an image of Ruach HaKodesh, and the waters under the dome are clouds and rain. They are the water on and under the earth. Elohim said, let the water under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let dry land appear. And that is how it was. Elohim called the dry land earth, the gathering together of the water he called seas. And Elohim saw that it was good. So we see the first thing that is created is light and darkness. And this is separated from each other. Once that is separated, that actually means that one can start speaking about how life is going to come about. But then the water under the sky is to be gathered together in one place and dry land appear. So what Elohim is doing here is he's actually separating dry land from the sea. And in that separation, he's creating a place where those animals can live that need dry land, the earth for earth plants and animals, and in a manner, by manner of speaking, also for the birds. And then there is water for the water plants and water animals. And then he says, let the earth bring forth plants, and the earth put forth grass, seed-producing plants, and fruit trees, each yielding its own kind of seed, bearing fruit on the earth. And that is how it was. The earth brought forth grass, plants, each yielding its own kind of seed, and trees, each producing its own kind of seed-bearing fruit. So in the absence of the light, because there are no light-giving bodies at this stage yet, Yeshua acts as their light. And actually, in Yeshua's light, photosynthesis seems to already be taking place. And Elohim saw that it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. The order of the fourth day. Elohim said that let there be lights in the dome of the sky. To divide the day from the night, let them be for signs, seasons, days, and years. And then let them be lights in the dome of the sky to give light to the earth. So the lights in the dome of the sky are the stars and the sun. And the moon is merely a reflected type of light. But the lights of the stars are so far away that they cannot really give active light to the earth. But they, together with the sun, are there to give signs and seasons, days and years. And they are lights in the dome of the sky to give light to the earth. So they are there for the use of the spiritual dimension to communicate with the earth. And that is how it was. Elohim made the two great lights, the larger light to rule by day and the smaller light to rule the night and the stars. So the larger light rules the day when there is total light and when darkness is subdued, and the smaller light which actually waxes and wanes and allows more or less darkness, and the stars that are only visible when the light has been doused to a certain degree. And Elohim put them in the dome of the sky to give light to the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. So there was evening and there was morning, a fourth day. So in its circle around the sun, it actually means that one side of the earth constantly is exposed to the light, which is Yeshua, and which also is the sun, whilst the other side is exposed to darkness. It is turned away from the light. And that part usually or often is exposed to the moon, which waxes and wanes as it rotates around the earth. So physical light was necessary for animals. As we know, it is difficult for most animals to move and to find food if there is no light. Then Elohim said on the fifth day, let the waters swarm and swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open dome of the sky. Elohim created the great sea creatures and every living thing that creeps, so that the water swarmed with all kinds of them, and there was every kind of winged bird. And Elohim saw that it was good. Then Elohim blessed them and said, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the water of the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth. So there was evening and there was morning, a fifth day. Water life and air life came about before ground animals and before man. And then on the fifth day, obviously, the animals were made first, and then Elohim said, let us make humankind in our image, in the likeness of ourselves, and let them rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, the animals, and over all the earth, and over every crawling creature that crawls on earth. So Elohim created humankind in his own image. In the image of Elohim, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Much is said about the fact that Elohim is actually a plural word. But the Shema says, Shema Israel, Yudhei Vavhei Eloheinu Yudhei Vavhei Echad, which says that Yudhei Vavhei is unique. So Elohim is absolutely one. There is no form of division between the expressions of Elohim. They are one. It is but one Elohim. So he rules over the fish, the sea, the birds in the air, the animals, and over everything. And he wishes humankind to do so in his image, because he created humankind in his own image. Male and female created he them. In his image created he them. So Elohim himself is male and female. Elohim gave man dominion in his image, ruling and caring as male and female. And there is no excuse for exploitation of the earth. Then Elohim as a female is caring. He is El Shaddai, the omnipotent one. Shaddai derived from Shad, which is breast, and obviously from the breast comes milk, which is continuous spiritual and physical caring for his universe. Male and female, therefore, are to care, to protect, to provide, and to love the universe within which they were created. Again, male and female created in them, in his image created in them. Elohim himself is male and female. How is he male? He's an initiator. He started off the universe in one day. He's the lawgiver. He's the leader. He's the provider. And he does this day by day and repetitive rather than continuous. Because for each day, a new provision. Each day he's the leader again. Each day he's the lawgiver again. And each day he's the initiator again. So the human male as male initiates. He provides sperm. He enforces the law. He's the leader. He's the provider. And this happens day by day and is not continuous. The human female also is to be a male because she also was created in his image, and she's to be a help against him. But clearly this is not meant to be a help against her husband. We will see what that alludes to later on in this presentation. Elohim as a female is caring, is El Shaddai. Shad is a breast, and there's continuous and physical caring that is going on at all times. How are males female? They are female when they care, protect, provide, and nurture on a continuous basis rather than on a day-by-day basis. Because provision also is continuous, but it also is day by day. And the nurture is to be continuous along with his wife. How is a female female? She's female because she carries the baby. She feeds the young baby handler. She nurtures the toddler. She teaches the child. And therefore, she has all these attributes. Now, when one says, how is Elohim female? There are some interesting things. One of his attributes is compassion, rachum in Hebrew. Interestingly, the uterus is rechem. And in the Hebrew of the scriptures, only the consonants are written, the vowels are not, which means that both compassion, base, and uterus are written resh chet mem. Resh chet mem. Shaddai or Shad is breasts, and the Ruach provides all the above. He provides compassion, it is a uterus, it is breasts. Let us just examine this a bit further, because the uterus is an amazing structure. It's an elastic bag. Within the elastic bag, there is fluid. And if external force is placed on an elastic bag, it simply will dent, but it will stretch to accommodate whatever is inside it by stretching in another direction and making space for the fetus to move into a protected situation, along with the fluid that is within it, which, according to Laplace's law, any force that is applied on the fluid is distributed equally within the entire container within which it is. So that means that the pressure, instead of being a localized pressure from one side on the fetus that can damage it, becomes a pressure that comes from all sides. And that, plus the elasticity of the uterus, protects the fetus incredibly within the uterus. So this is nothing other than compassion. And then there is Shaddai, Shad, the breasts, by which the newborn baby is fed until such time as it can be weaned off the breasts. And the Ruach provides all of this, plus the nurture that comes after this, plus the education that comes after this. So Elohim, in his total sense, is everything that is necessary to take us ahead. And then Elohim blessed them. Elohim said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, and every living creature that crawls on the earth. But so far, man has been created in his image, man and woman, male and female, he created them. But he has no shape or form to be seen. So that means that man also at this stage has no shape or form. Elohim rules according to his image, male and female, which is cherishing, caring, and controlling. Man must rule in Elohim's image, cherish, care, and control. Modern man controls and exploits. Then on the earth itself, then Elohim said, here, throughout the earth, I'm giving you as food every seed-bearing plant and every tree with seed-bearing fruit, which seems strange because man still is a spiritual being at this time. But Elohim is already providing for man, for when he is going to transform man into a physical entity, as he transformed everything in the universe from a spiritual entity into a physical entity. He rules over the earth and he cares for man, and there is no exploitation of the earth for man. And to every wild animal, bird in the air, and creature crawling on the earth in which there is a living soul, I'm giving as food every kind of green plant, and that is how it was. Elohim rules, he cares for the animal kingdom, and there is no exploitation of the kingdom for man. On the sixth day, he created man. Elohim saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good, and there was evening and there was a morning, the sixth day. So the number of man is 6. 3 times anything is making a statement of great emphasis. So 666 is a man developed to his full potential. That is the highest order of development that the human being can ever reach, will be 666, because it is the number of man with great emphasis. And the beast of Revelations is 666, but it clearly is without the Ruach. So Revelations 13, verse 16 to 18, also it forces everyone, beast, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, preventing anyone from buying or selling unless he has the mark, that is, the name of the beast and the number of its name. This is where wisdom is needed. Those who understand should count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a person, and its number is 666, exactly to this whole entity that we've just been speaking about. But the mark on the right hand and the mark on the forehead is an interesting thing, because Scripture commands that it should be written on the hand and on the forehead. It says that in connection with celebrating the Passover feast, and also the remembrance that the firstborn was saved, because the firstborn are to be the children who will continue faith within the family. And then the second portion says, redeem your firstborn. But the firstborn of a donkey needs to be redeemed. And if it is not redeemed, its neck has to be broken. Interestingly, Esau was called a wild donkey. And when the neck of the animal is broken, it is removed from the body. It is broken away from the body. So this means that when a boy is not in a position to take the leadership of his family, because in the place of his father, he will actually have to be removed from that position. So his neck needs to be broken. And in a specific sense, this is exactly what happened to Esau. He was removed as head of Isaac's family, and in his place came Jacob. The same applies to Isaac. Isaac was put there in the place of Ishmael, who actually was the elder son. So these donkeys' necks were broken. And then one has to redeem the firstborn. So there is the redemption of the firstborn and the Passover that needs to be celebrated. Then the third text is written in Deuteronomy 6, where the Jewish confession of faith is, which is, Hear, O Israel, Yud-Heh Vav-Heh is Elohim, Yud-Heh Vav-Heh is one. And you must love him with your whole heart, your whole soul, and with all your possessions. And you must teach these things to your children when they sit and when they go, when they get up and when they lie down. So that actually commands that the laws need to be taught perpetually. And as the first two texts, it also commands that it is to be written on the forehead and on the hand. And the last text states that if there is to be idolatry, then rain will discontinue. And that in this discontinuation of the rain, this needs to be reminded to the children that they will know that idolatry will take them away from Hashem and cause them to serve something else. So of this, it means that the mark on the forehead and the mark on the arm is much the same as this mark, and the attribute that these people will have who take the mark of the beast is that they will not teach their children to serve Yud-Heh Vav-Heh Elohim and to do as he wants. And therefore, just the fact that these marks are in the same place means that they will not serve him and that they will not do as he wants them to do. And this is where wisdom is needed. So clearly, they will not be wearing the tefillin, the spiritual tefillin that they need to wear, and they will carry the number of the beast.